Right, we're live. Hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Talking Craps Season 1, Episode 15 show. My name is Jay. You can find me on social media at Casino Dealer Jay. And my co-host, as always, oh, look at that. I pointed the right way this episode, is...
Hey, it's John Holland. Remember to sign up for Jay's stuff. He does some really amazing casino stuff. So make sure you sign up for all of his channels on social media. And also, Wales is like England, but better.
Oh, wow. Wow, shots fired
Controversial.
already. So, yeah, thanks for the shout out. We are currently streaming over 3 platforms. We're streaming on my Facebook, not my DJ account. So on my Facebook, Hello Family, the Casino Industry Canada group, the private group of 1500. So hello, everybody. Welcome there. And the Casino Dealer J channel. Oh my God, English. All right. So hello, everybody. Thanks for subscribing. You are good looking. Michael, disagree. Yeah, funny guy. Wonder if you're working today. All right. So we have a special guest today. This is somebody that John and I have actually worked with in the industry. So without further ado, we would like to introduce Shauna Lupaschuk. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, welcome, Shauna. Thanks for spending some time out of your day and joining the channel.
Thank you so much for having me. This is actually quite exciting.
Oh, really?
Good looking group.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey, we always make that joke. If you were searching 2 bald guys plus craps,
I would look for you guys. I would definitely look for you.
Oh, that is so funny. So, Shauna, if you could where do we start here? Shauna, I know that you are over down east. I don't know if it's down east, it's up east, right? Whereabouts are...
Paradise of Thunder Bay.
Wow. So how is the weather over there?
You know what? I'm not used to the cold anymore. So we were obviously in Edmonton for almost our whole life. And then we were in Manitoba, back in Edmonton. And then we lived in Belgrade, Serbia for just over 2.5 years. And we only moved to Thunder Bay about a year ago. And right now in Belgrade, I think it's about 20 degrees. So the minus 40 and the cold here, I'm definitely not used to, but it's not bad. It's a lot cleaner. The air is a lot cleaner.
Oh, so cool. So cool. I know it's a little bit later for you over there. So we totally appreciate you spending your time and just joining the channel, because we'd like to hear some of your stories, because we did work together and it's been a few years. So for those people that don't know, could you kind of tell everybody, just give everybody a little background about your casino experience and your time there in the industry?
Sure. So I was never lucky enough, or say smart enough, to be a table dealer or a slot manager. I was originally in food and beverage, where I started as a bartender in the Palace Casino. And I was there from 98 to, I think, 2002. I was a food and beverage manager when I left in West Edmonton Mall. And then in 2003, I was the marketing director of Century Casino in Edmonton as well. And I was there until I was had my first daughter. I was there for just over 1.5 years.
So cool. So, John, do you have any questions before we move on? We've got some people joining in now, so.
No, I think there's a lot of, I think, on the tables, we see a certain side of craziness, but I think on the bar side in casinos, it gets exponentially more crazy, just because, I don't know, I just think that, I've seen some stuff in the casinos over the 19 years I was in different places. I was like, man, this is crazy. And then you think, well, these crazy leave, and then they go to the bar. So I'm like, I know that there's just some crazy stuff that the bar, that part of the casino sees, that typically the dealers don't, or the gaming side don't. So I'm kind of looking forward to what John had to say.
I have a theory about that. So my theory is that players look at you guys like good luck charms, right? You don't want to piss your dealer off because he's dealing your cards, right? And I know they've yelled at you, and I've seen things being thrown, you know. But I think that they definitely don't want to piss the dealer off. They're not scared of pissing off food and beverage, and they're not scared of pissing off your bartender. So we definitely have some crazy stories. It still is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard of, seen in my entire life, because I was there. So I was bartending one day. If you're a sensitive soul, you probably don't want to listen to this because it's not very polite. I was bartending, and all of a sudden my bar was surrounded by police officers, and it happened so quickly. And there was a man in Edmonton that the police deemed the shit eater, who would crawl under bathroom stalls, and while a person was going to the bathroom, would try to take what was in the toilet before the toilet was flushed. And they had gotten back to the back of the casino, and so the SWAT team was rushing to try to find this guy, because he had just been in another casino. I think it was Argyle. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, whoever's watching this. But then they were at the Palace Casino, and they did not catch him, at least when I was there. And so that was definitely one of them. And then I had a guy show up one day at the Palace Casino with a full arm tattoo of me, with a crown of thorns and black angel wings on his arm. I'm not kidding you. He shows up, and I'm like, this is like the 90s. So I have like the crazy high ponytail, like just crazy. And we wore these like tuxedos, these really unflattering tuxedos. And this guy shows up, he's drinking a coffee, like nothing crazy. And he's asked me for his signature, like for my signature on his wrist, and I didn't understand it. And he's like, it's to go with this. And he lifts up his sleeve, and there is my face, there's my body on this dude's arm. And I actually have like Jesus's crown around my head and these black Gothic wings. And then the police showed up again at the casino, and he was banned. He was banned for life from the mall, from the casino as well. Yeah. So and then I had a famous author who brought his mother to the casino on Mother's Day. And she definitely was infirm. She was not prepared to go out. So she should not have been out. And he took her to the bathroom and couldn't finish. So he got me from behind the bar and asked me to wipe her butt and clean her up, which I did. And they went on to play slots after that again. So that was my bartender stories. Is for the Century Casino. We had a lot of great times there. We had a really good team. The one media experience I had there, which still is a thorn in my side, we were opening up the casino. We were talking about the gentrification of the area and what the casino was going to be doing for the area in terms of jobs and revitalizing the community. And Global News, I think it was Global News, had contacted me and wanted to do a story. And so I go outside, and they have the casino being constructed in the background. And so the reporter goes to me, she's like, so Miss Lupaschuk, what do you think about the casino in the area? And I go on to talk about the jobs and, you know, the money that will, and the charity work that will come into the community. And the camera pans out, and all of a sudden these protesters come out with these picket signs, and they're like, Bob and Mary Shelley from down the street don't agree with it. And all of a sudden they kind of blindsided me. But in all, the community was very supportive. We had many of them there. We did a lot of work, and overall, most people were quite happy with it.
That's so cool. Yeah. What a crazy story.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious, like, how did he get your face? Did he somehow must have like secretly taken a picture of you to be able to go? And I mean, like, what kind of tattoo artist is like, see this girl that I'm kind of stalking? I need you to tattoo this all on my sleeve. It's just like, who does that?
Well, I'm old now, but back when I was like in my 20s, I did model for Swimsuit Illustrated and some calendars and stuff. So that's when I was much younger. And so he took one of my pictures, had the whole thing tatted up his sleeve, and didn't know me. And he told the police that I was his best friend, and never met him in my life.
To be honest, I mean, like, I spent like 19 years. Like, I think when you work in a casino, it doesn't really matter what part of the casino you work in, whether it's like the tables, the slots, or the bar, like food and beverage. You just have like these crazy stories. It's just like, man, and like when you speak to normal people, you're like, no, that never happened. You're like, oh, just wait, there's more.
There was a guy who drank. It was like when we were able to give away free pop and coffee till like 3 o'clock in the morning. And this guy drank like 2 or 3 pops. Like he kept coming back to the bar, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, I believe. And this guy peed on every seat on our upper level because he was mad because he lost his money that day. So drunk or sober, you get all kinds.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, just a couple of comments here. This is from one of your friends. Hi, friend. Good to see and hear you. That's actually Sunny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He just wrote a wrestling novel.
Yes.
A wrestling book. Yes.
This really awesome one right here. So.
Yes, he did.
Just a lot of talent in the Palace Casino. I'll say that. A couple of writers here. We have a comedian. Seriously, just Palace Casino taking over the world there. So. Yeah, this is actually Sunny's book. Really cool. I've gone through this book. I haven't finished it yet, but I grew up watching Stampede Wrestling, so it was pretty cool to see some of the characters from before. So, yeah, shout out.
I have a theory about like casinos, like more specifically like Edmonton, because I only have really worked in one casino in Edmonton, and because most places I work were slightly different. I think the casinos in Edmonton were more beneficial as a side gig for people trying to do something else.
Absolutely.
Because the flexibility of the hours, and they're like, oh yeah, you want to work one a month? Yeah, you work one a month. Most places I worked previously were like, oh, it's full time. So pretty much people just did that job, right? But I think as like a gig income, the casinos were really supportive of creative people, right? Like comedians and musicians and students and every kind of thing, because they're like, okay, I need a job that's really flexible that will work with me. And I think when we look back, we're like, oh my God, the industry kind of like helped create the careers of a lot of really kind of cool people in Edmonton, and I'm sure like in Alberta too, right?
I think that's true, but so I think that the personality lends itself to the casino industry as well. So you have a lot of creative people, musicians, arts of all kinds, kind of gravitating toward that career because it does offer flexibility as well. But then you also need that kind of personality, at least I think, in my opinion. You want those people to work for you and your staff, because those are going to be the people that are communicating with your patrons.
Oh, that's true. A couple more comments here. Hello, Mike. Hopefully you're okay. Not hungover. Well, no, you did work today. The hospital was crazy. So, wow, some crazy stories. Mike also worked at the Palace. I don't know if you remember that. I do remember,
yeah.
Yeah, hard to forget. I'll say that. This is Sunny again. Shauna helped with the cover. Cool. Really, really cool. All right. So, just on that note, before we start talking about the book and just your accomplishment, we will be giving away the gift card today. Now, I remember, it's not here, but we were trying to give away this $25 gift card for Sport Check, and for some reason, everyone kept passing it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double it, and we're going to give it away on our Christmas special, which is on December 23rd. I have a layout for that. I'm going to show you guys all the information, just a little teaser before we start doing that. And this week, we'll go back to the $25 gift card for Amazon, but we're also going to throw in a copy of Shauna's new novel, which she will be talking about soon. So in the comments in my chat, I hope this works. So you can see in the chat down there, if you guys hit that entry, you can get a link and you can get into the entry. We will do the draw at 9 o'clock. So right at 9 Pacific, Mountain Standard Time, Pacific. Oh my God. Mountain Standard Time. We're going to do the draw, and then from whoever is entered there, that person will win the $25 gift card. We won't do the roulette battle, because this is the first time that we actually have a guest that's not from the gaming side. So it's really cool.
I would lose. I would lose.
So would I, probably.
Yeah, we don't even know the payout sometimes. We just put it all together, and then we, take a little video, but then, yeah. So we just pick people that we like to win. So, all right. So guys, thank you so much for the comments here. But, we are here to basically showcase all the people that have been in the industry, have been doing really well, successful, not just on the casino side, but everywhere, outside. After working in the casino, and John, I know you just talked about it, having 2 different jobs. Sometimes the casino is kind of used as a supplement, as a part-time. Like, as for me, like my full-time job isn't in the casino anymore, but I just remember, like, through the years, always having the casino as like my second job, and I always worked somewhere else. So, again, sorry, I'm talking so much, but before we go on, Shauna, we actually did work not just in the casino together, but at 2 other places, which is pretty funny. So, yeah, we ended up working at Red's in the mall and McDonald's. So
I love working at McDonald's. I did. I honestly think that if anybody has a kid, they need to work there because it instills such a work ethic in you. Like, McDonald's employees aren't lazy. At least in my experience, they weren't lazy. I thought it was great. If my daughter wanted to work at McDonald's today, I would tell her to go do it.
Okay, good.
My son, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead.
This was like a couple of years ago when my oldest son, he's 16 now, so it's probably like 2 years ago. I filled out an application for him to apply for McDonald's. So I answered all the So they went and I said, okay, can I get an application form? My son wants to apply. I'm like, okay. And so I filled it all out. I answered all the questions, and he didn't get the job. So I guess I'm not fit for McDonald's, basically.
I actually think I wore like pearls to my McDonald's interview when I was like 13 or 14, like pearls.
That's impressive. To be honest, I can see that's why you got the job, right?
Probably, it's totally the pearls.
Yeah. Making a statement.
You were 13. I had to be
I got my first job when I was like 13. I was serving coffee in a bingo hall, like Northtown Mall or something, to old ladies at like 2:00 in the morning. I was really young, and there was lots of smoke. And then I went to the big time after that was McDonald's in pearls.
That's hilarious. All right, so Shauna, you have been pretty busy over the last little while here, and what kind of interested me was seeing the progression of the last book that you were writing. Now, I know that I believe that you were writing for quite a while, so could you kind of give us just a little bit more of your background with writing and how you got to accomplish such a pretty awesome feat of publishing a book?
Well, I wanted to be a writer forever. I didn't pursue it for the longest time. I have a marketing degree, and I had nothing to do with writing at that point. I was still writing in the background, so I wrote 5 other novels with no experience at all, knowing that they were not bad, but I just put them on a shelf, knowing that whatever one you kind of put to the world first has to be your best foot forward, and especially in the publishing industry. And so my husband's work took us overseas to Europe, and since I was not working out there, I decided to continue my education. I got a master's degree in novel writing out of London, there at a Middlesex University. And so there, they taught me how to think about writing and reading. And I wrote another novel after I came back. I finished that one. It's called Popcorn and Politics. It's a satire. It's definitely not for everybody. I didn't publish it on purpose. I think it's well written, but it's definitely not a page turner. It's a funny book, and not everybody is into funny books. My next book that I just finished a few months ago is a thriller, and it was written from a like a 5-minute conversation at a secondhand bookshop locally.
That's cool. So cool. John, did you want to start with?
So, one, I think it's kind of cool that you had a passion that you kind of pursued, and you, like, from your own personal perspective, you didn't want to do something until it was like really, really good, and the fact, one, you obviously, so you've traveled, you've been to Europe. I mean, I'm from Wales originally, and so I've traveled, and I think traveling, it broadens your horizon, right? You get different perspective. Like, going on vacations, you see is a different perspective for when you go to live and work somewhere, right? So I think it creates it changes your personality and your perspectives when you live and work somewhere else, right? And you meet different people, and like Jay and I, we've spoken about this before when we worked on ships. Like, traveling it's I think everybody should travel and work somewhere else, because you get to understand, and your perspective on things change, right? Do you think having this experience of traveling and working in different places, it's affected your writing to
100%. So I love people anyway. I've always loved people. I like talking to people. I need to be around people. But traveling opens your mind up a lot more in terms of, cultural experiences. Things that we think are normal are absolutely not normal in other places. In Serbia, they have this thing called promea, where if there's a draft from an open window, they believe that that's going to cause death to your house. So they freak out. If my purse is on the floor, that means 7 years bad luck. So you'd have waiters like scrambling to lift my purse off the floor because I'm going to be broke for the rest of my life. And but I just really think that it just kind of opens you up to more people, and to people that you might not normally talk to. There's a story in everyone. So like the book that I just finished, I was in Value Village in Thunder Bay in January. And I read so many books. I don't buy most of them from Indigo or Chapters, because I would definitely be broke. So I was getting some books there, and I was picking a book off a shelf, and a man came up behind me and said, "That book is haunted." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Complete stranger. And in 5 minutes, he tells me a story about how his grandmother, when he was growing up, told him not to touch things from this church that had burnt down because everything in there was haunted. And then it turns out that the man told me that, he goes, well, she didn't know what really happened. It was her son that burnt down the church. He was his uncle, and killed 2 people in McDermott, Ontario. And so this was a complete a conversation that took me by surprise, by a complete stranger who just told me that somebody he knew murdered 2 people, and he said that the police didn't know about it. And I believe the uncle had passed away now.
Wow. And you turned that brief encounter into a book then? That was your last book? Oh, this book?
This book. So I just released this last week on the 11th. It was an accident. It was not supposed to be out for another month, but Amazon released it early. And it's going really well so far. Over the weekend, I was selling more than some, I was ranking higher than some James Patterson books, Dean Koontz, David Baldacci. So there's quite a few authors that I was outranking over the weekend. So I was really, really happy about that. Not bad for a self-published author, first timer.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a pretty great accomplishment. Now, so this was kind of, you kind of gave the background on this book. Now, do you feel like you want to continue on with specific stories? Like, do you feel that you are capable of doing like different kind of series books, or do you like doing this genre and then this genre, or like different characters?
I'm definitely capable of writing different genres. I don't like romance. I mean, I'll watch Hallmark movies, but I'm not a romance reader. Definitely not a romance reader. I'm already half done another book that should be done by March coming up. And no, I don't necessarily pigeonhole myself into a certain genre, but I find that I write a better genre, certain genres better than others, for sure.
Mm-hmm. John, still, I just keep pointing the wrong way, but
It's just, you have to go like that in it. Oh, that was whatever. But Shauna, I mean, like, what advice would you give? I mean, like, you sound like you've written, you know, quite a few novels over the years. Some you haven't published, some by personal preference, some you have. You know, there's a lot of creative, like we've mentioned before, there's a lot of creative people in casinos. So what advice would you give them if they were going to write a book?
Oh, so most people stop before they even start, and that's a big thing. A lot of writers give up. The biggest thing is you have to read a lot and read widely. So your outputs are only going to be as good as your inputs. So if you're reading, you know, and if you like trash novels, great, but then that's what your output's going to be. If you want to write something that's really well, you have to look at, you know, the juggernauts, you know, who are the best in the industry. I read a lot of classics, books from like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, all the time, because I feel like they're going to make me a better writer. But the big thing too for me is that you have to write every single day, and even 500 words a day will get you a novel in 6 months. So the book I just completed, that was the fastest novel I've ever written. Most of them took me a year or two, but this one was 6 months, and because I wrote 500 words a day. And after that, I had a 90,000 word novel, which sounds like a lot, but 500 words a day is really manageable if you can actually just sit down and do it. It doesn't take a lot.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, a couple more questions. A couple actual comments here from some of the viewers. So Connie says, "Well, yeah, you should be proud of yourself," and of course, my congratulations. So really cool.
Thank you.
I know it's been difficult this whole year. Just a lot of things going on. Now, my question for you was, did COVID? How has it been for you? With regards to your writing, given the fact that, you know, there's a lot of rules that were kind of put in place throughout the country, did it accelerate your writing or did it hinder it? How did it affect you?
It 100%, it just sped it up, if anything, because so now we're locked in our home. We're a family that takes things like this very seriously. So my husband works from home. His office isn't built yet, so he's home. My children, we pull them out to do remote learning, so they're online 6 hours a day. So I'm doing homework with them, and I'm relearning grade 5 and grade 8 math. But besides that, we're all home all the time, and I can't go anywhere. So since I was little, I need to be with people. I need to be in places. I need to go places. And so we're quite busy. So being forced to stay in my house has kind of expedited anything I would have done. And I'm really thankful. So for us, I do think that things happen for a reason. It's terrible. But for us, you know, our family's really healthy. They're happy, really happy. And for my writing, I'm writing faster than I've ever written before. And if anything, I'm writing excitement where there's none. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Really cool. All right, guys. For those of you that joined in late, we will be giving away the $25 Amazon gift card. Amazon this time, not Sport Check. You guys are pretty picky. So I'll just put that back in my son's piggy bank and pull out the other one. And on top of that, we will be adding in a copy of Shauna's novel. So the draw will be in, I think, 30 minutes still. So at 9 o'clock, we'll be doing the draw. Here's the link to get your entry. So follow the link just in the chat there, and you can put in your entries, and I believe you get one bonus, and then if you visit the Casino Dealer J YouTube channel, you get another one. So a bunch of you are already on there, so why don't you just do that again, and you can get another entry, and we'll do the draw in 30 minutes. So sweet. Go ahead, John.
I think we should post a link to Shauna's book on Amazon too.
Oh yeah.
Yay.
I was just trying to do it, but to be honest, I'm just on this one laptop. I'm like, and I was like, okay, so we need to post a link. So Shauna, you know, because to be honest, the book sounds really cool. And while Jay's looking at that, one of the things that I've kind of over the years I've noticed about the people predominantly say Edmonton is the people who got really good at certain things did it every single day. They practiced really hard and they measured themselves against the best, right? Like you just said that, or you mentioned that you read books for the classics, the 100 years old, 50 years old, like this is how these amazing authors wrote. And, if I want to be as good as them, I need to understand how they wrote and how they, how they put, how their books were. And I remember speaking to Lars, and he would practice jokes for like 10,000 hours, stuff like that. And same as Jay, like you practice this skill to do something, to be, it ends up being a craft, right? But you have to really do it because you want to do it, one, and two, because you want to do it really well, right? But it takes a lot of time, to be honest. I mean, and a commitment, right? I mean, like you said, it's 500 words a day. And to a lot of people, it's like, oh, that's not much. But no, you have to do every day. And eventually, over 6 months, you're going to have a novel, right? If I wrote it, it would probably be garbage. But I mean, like, yeah, I'd have 90,000 words that were like, oh, my God, this guy can't spell. But you know what I mean? It's I think, it's whatever craft we're trying to, be an expert at. It takes dedication and expertise, right, to be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, John, I really think, based on your stories, I think you could write a novel just on that alone. So, just your whole adventures before you even joined like the Palace, it's crazy. Like, just to be with you on this channel and us doing this show every Wednesday, it's actually really cool to hear all these stories that I never knew. Like a lot of this I didn't even know about you from, when you were just starting, and it was quite a while ago.
Well, yeah, it was like 20 years ago I worked in the Palace, right? So you think we all worked together, and we're like, oh my God, literally that was like generation ago, right? People weren't born and have kids now that we worked together. I'm sorry I brought that up. It sounds like we're terribly old.
But no, it's been that long, yeah.
Yeah, buddy, like you think, I came there, when I started in the Palace, I was in 2000, so I was 32, right? I'm 52 now, and I was kind of in the end of my kind of like casino career, I guess. But I did a lot of crazy stuff and fun stuff, and in all honesty, like things just happen, right? I mean, I was talking when I left the Palace, the first casino, the first job I left when I the Palace. I was. Can I just tell a story? It's quick. I left and I went to work in Home Depot, right? And I was like, they said, oh, we'll make you run 2 departments, and it was like the lumber section and the buildings. And I was like, oh, okay, sure, I'll do it. I'll be the manager. What's to know? So anyway, so I went there, and I've hated bullies all my life. I hated bullies. I don't like them, and I only remember this story yesterday. So I was in, walking around at night, and there was this young kid. He must have been about 16 that was working there, and he was stood by, in all Home Depots they have that big store at the back. He was stood by there, and then there was these 2 guys there, and they one of them was shouting at him, and his poor kid was all scared, and I was like, I just went, oh, I was so mad. I'm like, oh my God, they're picking on this poor kid. So I kind of run down the aisle, and I turned around. These 2 guys were they were about the back to me, and I went around and I was like, don't you talk to him like that, but you be respectful, you can't be like this. If you can't be respectful, you need to leave. And the one guy pointed to the guy in the wheelchair and said, he's had a stroke and he doesn't speak English. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to hell. So it's like, and that just made, and then this kid was just like, I'm his boss, and I was like, okay, you seem to have it in control. I think I'm going to leave. So then I walked away. And like literally, I only remember that so I only remember that story 2 days ago, because I was on a Zoom call with some friends of ours, and they're like, oh yeah, my son works in Home Depot. I was like, oh yeah, I worked in Home Depot. Oh my God, I just remembered this story. Yeah, so I don't know. I think there's lots of stuff happen. Life is funny for a lot of times, right? I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
I haven't done that.
Oh, Sean, I've done way worse.
Yeah, once we publish more of the episodes on the podcast, then you can actually listen to all the. Well, this is for everybody. You can all listen to John's stories. We will be doing the best of as well. So I've been working on that for a while, just kind of compiling all of the funny moments from the show. But yeah, John, you're gonna love it because some of your stories have just been ridiculous. So.
I think it is. Like to Shauna's point, I think you just need to be like interested in people, and people have stories, right? And some of the I mean, I sold one last week, and it wasn't about me. It was a guy I worked with 20 odd years ago. Remember Jay with camping, and it was in Europe, and it was just I just totally forgot about it, and it just came up. And I was like, oh my god, I remember the story, and it was so funny. But it's somebody else's story. But I mean, I just think if you interested in people and interested in like, oh my god, we've all got these funny stories, right? And the more you get out and the more you talk to people, like like you said, Shawnee, I mean, typically, if that was me and there was some strange guys like, hey, that's a haunted book, I'd be like, and then they'll be gone. Do you know what I mean?
No, I like, if somebody starts talking to me, I'm like, oh, friend, right? I'm probably pretty annoying actually that way, but no, I love people. I people watch. So I'm probably, most people probably think I'm pretty creepy, but I love watching people. I love listening to people. I actually, on my phone, I probably have 100 pages of notes of like things people have done in front of me in like Walmart or somebody, the way that they pick their nose. In Serbia, for instance, men openly pick their nose in front of women. So it's not uncommon to be walking beside a guy. He's got his Adidas tracksuit on and his gold chain, and like beside him is a girl in like full sequins, and he's knuckle deep, and he's looking at you in the eyes because he's not ashamed at all. And for me, so I take those. That's just an example, but I take those things and I write them down. And like, because there's a lot of there's just so much out there that you can use for creative purposes, but it's also interesting as humans to know that there are other people out there that are not like me, and that's fascinating.
I saying that like the cultural differences that you don't really understand. I worked in Greece, and at the time, it was like it became the casino we worked in was in Loutraki, which is on the coast. It's about an hour, I think, hour and a half from Athens, and when they brought over like 250 British people, which is a bad sign, British casino people, which is even worse. So they're into this small little seaside town, and they made the casino 24 hours, right? And they brought us all there. And so like, okay, it's got to be, everyone's got to speak English because, there was 500 British people. I think it was about 500 British people in there. They don't speak Greek. None of us were going to learn it. We're like, okay, so they had to all speak English. But there was some like, so when we were dealing blackjack, we didn't realize, well, when we first got there, a lot of us was like, that meant yes, but that meant no. So, so when you're dealing blackjack, we're like, oh, and you're like, okay, he should his head. And all the Greeks were like, he said no. And it was just the cultural differences that we had to learn. It was, it was just crazy. And just like, oh my God, this is so, yeah, it was kind of cool, kind of different. And then you're like, oh, this is a new experience. And
in Serbia, so it's a second world country, so it's not a rich country, but there was a casino almost every single block, and they were small, and I don't remember table games, a lot of slots, and you'd have people coming in, I mean, smoke going up, so you can barely see your own face, and then you could put money in a slot machine, but you could never take it out. You could never take it out. So you could sit there forever, and then in order to get the chit out, you'd have to wait for a waitress to come by who would then give you like kind of a chit, who then takes it to the front door, and somebody, they make sure again that you want to cash it out because they make it very difficult to take money from. So yeah, but there's a casino everywhere.
Oh wow, so cool. I've never been there. Really like to go to Europe. I don't know. I never got to do a contract there, and but from both of your stories, yeah, I would definitely want to.
It is the best experience. It is the best experience. So we took a major trip every month, and then when we knew we were coming back to Canada, we pulled our kids out of school for a month, and we drove 7,000 kilometers around Europe. and just so they could see everything. We did all the, like, they saw everything, museums, tours, and we got caught between the Ukrainian and Polish border, and we were surrounded by guards there because they thought my Toyota Yaris was stolen because the Serbian Hertz dealership switched the plates on me. So we were stuck in our car for 8 hours at the Polish-Ukrainian border, and Serbia Hertz was like, just continue on, just go into Ukraine. And we said, because the Polish police said, well, we'll let you go to Ukraine, but if they deny you because they think your car is stolen, we also will not let you back into Poland. So there's a no man's land. It's not like where you cross into the US and you just drive in and you're in the US. You leave a country, there's a no man's land, and then you enter a country. So there's two border checkpoints there, and we would have been stuck. And so we told Hertz that we would have grabbed our stuff from the car and walked across the border and left our cars there. So they had to come and meet us in Budapest to give us new plates. And I'd been driving the car for 2 years. And the driver who came to give me the car was drunk. He was so drunk, he came back to my door like 30 minutes later because he still couldn't get the key in the ignition because there was a Slava the night before, and Serbian Slavas is a saint day, and everybody drinks. Everybody, the postman, the teachers, everybody's drunk. And the next day you could smell it on them. But that day when Serbian Hertz was delivering the car to my house, 30 minutes later, I thought the guy had already left, and he asked me to help him get the key in the ignition so he could drive away. He was so drunk he couldn't stand or find the ignition.
Oh my God. We have some comments here. Sunny says, I hope you eventually release Popcorn and Politics. I read maybe the first quarter and then someone lost the link, but he loved what he read. So
cool.
Is that something that you plan on kind of bringing out, or are you going to do something new?
Well, I'm already halfway into another thriller right now, so that one I'm going to finish first. Satire I was writing when I was in university because it was just so experimental and I loved it. Love Orwell, love him, and it was that kind of vein. But people generally don't. People like me read them. Not everybody is interested in that right now, and that's not the reason I write. But I find the thriller is a lot easier to kind of go through. So all the novels I've written that are on the shelf, there's one I might resurrect at some point, maybe two, but the rest will just kind of stay. You need to go through the crap before you get to the better stuff, I think.
Mm-hmm. So who just on that note, who are your major influences when it comes to writing?
It was Stephen King for like my whole life, but since university, it's like I love Bradbury. I love Ray Bradbury. I read him all the time. Steinbeck, I'm reading Tortilla Flats by him right now, and who else was it that was I reading recently? It's all, I love Norman Mailer. A lot of people would not think that you don't normally see a lot of the kind of modern women reading those kind of works. They're quite sexist, and but Norman Mailer, I think he was a fantastic writer. He's one of John Cheever. Awesome. Chekhov, I just finished a novel from him. He's great. His stories in Russian, every time I'm listening, even though it was like written 100 years ago, I feel like I'm in Serbia because it's the same thing. The same things are still happening there. But it's, yeah, so I really love a lot of the classics, and I feel like I'm lucky to be able to even just open a book that have their writing in it. I just bought a Poe novel. I think it wasn't a first edition, but I bought it for like 50 cents at a garage sale, and that book is selling for like $700 on eBay right now.
Wow.
So I like to try to find the good ones too. Yeah.
Really cool. John, to your story about the granny a couple episodes ago, Granny in the Tent could be a Monty Python sketch. So,
it's a funny story. It wasn't mine. I was working in London at the time, London, England, way back when, I was 23, so it'd be like 91. And this is for you, Shauna. I think people who've watched it have seen it before. I worked with this guy, and he was probably my age at the time, and And it was kind of cool because it's like a different generation of dealers, right? So they see, this guy was in his like early 50s, and he was in the Eastern Bloc. And I remember he told me that him and his family, one time they went camping, and it was just like him and his kids and his parents, his grandmother, and they had the big, like, army tent kind of thing, the big ones, whatever, they threw on the back of the car, and they traveled over to, I think it was Yugoslavia, and they went camping, and during the trip, the grandmother passed away in the night. So they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And they didn't have money to kind of officially, go to the doctors and do everything else and have it transported back. So they said, okay, well, we'll put her in the tent, we'll put her on top of back on the car, and we'll drive over the border, and we'll just say she passed away back home, and then we can do it there. So they're like, okay. So they drove, they did everything, and they threw the tent away, and they put grandmother in the tent, and they drive to the border. And then they were so nervous, they were like, okay, we're gonna have a few drinks before we cross the border. So they went into the bar and had a few drinks, and then when they came out, somebody stole the tent. So they didn't know what to do. They were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? So they couldn't do anything. They were like, we can't tell the police. So then they just had to go home. So they just crossed the border, and they went home, and they never saw.
They don't know where they bought. That's a book. That is a book. That's totally a book.
They never saw, and they were like, we didn't know what to do. They can't report it because they were trying to smuggle a dead body across the border.
So Yugoslavia is where it's Serbia, and Croatia, all those countries out there, and that stuff happens. Like it happens.
Yeah, so they never saw it, and they were like, we don't know where she went. That was it. It was gone.
Oh my God! Oh my gosh, that poor woman.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's one of my favorite stories, man. Okay, cool. So guess what? There is the link. I put it in the comments, so guys, jump in, get a copy.
Thank you.
Or win one. I actually did a nice little cool banner. Whoa!
Wow! Thank you.
Yeah, cool, right?
That looks really cool.
Oh, here, Shauna. Here's a photo of our first snowfall.
Oh, I saw that the other day. I did.
Oh, did you?
Yes, I did. We didn't have that.
Yeah, I took another one actually because I was at the hospital. Yeah, well, you know that. We were just talking before the show, but yeah, it was it's pretty crazy outside right now, and it's like a skating rink. But I don't know how often you're in St. Albert, but I was trying. I have a little black Mazda 3, and I do have snow tires, and I was trying to go uphill, and I kept hitting every red light. So then, like, the car behind me was getting so mad, and I couldn't get off because it was ice, and it was so bad. So it took me like 30 seconds to just get off of a green. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. But yeah, it's not too nice out here right now, so it's probably nicer over there.
It is. It's nicer here right now. We had a snowfall and that melted. It's Thunder Bay. It should be colder. We had a really nice winter last year. The summer was like 38 degrees for so many days. It was really hot, and even right now we can't complain. It's not so bad. I'm not looking forward to the first real snowfall where everybody forgets that we're Canadian and that this happens every single year. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. Guys, we are about 10 minutes away from doing the draw. Hopefully the link worked. This is only the second time that we're actually giving something away this way. Usually we always do the roulette battle, but hopefully this will work out and we have enough entries to do the draw. If one person comes in, well, I guess you win. So
thank you.
Also, just before we move on, next week we will be doing the draw for Cindy's encaustic painting. And unfortunately, how beautiful is that, hey? I'm sorry, the reason why there's been a delay is because I haven't been able to pick it up because I haven't been able to leave my house because I had to get tested for COVID because there's someone that I was working with that had it. So that's all I can say. But now it's negative, so life is good for now. And we'll get that going, and I'll meet up with Cindy at some point, and then we can kind of give that away. So, all right, John, do you have any other questions that you want to kind of throw in right now?
Shauna, what was your favorite place in Europe that you went to?
Oh gosh, Bratislava. So we were everywhere. I have family in the Netherlands. I did the one time I went to London back. I had an exhibition there for school, and I got food poisoning, and I had no kids, no husband, and so I rode those red buses for I think 16 hours with food poisoning because I was determined to see everything I possibly could see in London before I left. And so that was a memorable trip. But Poland was great. It was we were in Slovakia, and I mean I eat everything, but we were at this restaurant where they had their vegetarian menu, and I'm not a vegetarian, and if you are, that's good too. But they had a vegetarian menu, and everything on the vegetarian menu had bacon. Every single thing had bacon, so it didn't matter what it was, it had bacon on it, and they didn't count that as meat. So we were in Paris a few times. Verona was really, really nice. Croatia, Lapud. We did a tour of King's Landing. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, and we did the tour of King's Landing there. My husband took me there for my 40th birthday. It was unbelievable. It was amazing. So we saw some pretty cool stuff. I would suggest to everybody that if you're going to do Europe, most people are like, oh, I must see the Eiffel Tower, which after you see it, but after you see it, there's so much more in like Eastern Europe too. You can do Europe really affordably, and there is so much culture there, and the people are so welcoming. They will open their homes to you. They're ready to cook food for you. They're willing to do everything for you. And we had some of the best experiences we've had in countries that most people wouldn't think to immediately visit if they're thinking about Europe.
So cool. Is there a place in Europe that you haven't seen that you want to?
Well, I'm Ukrainian. I'm Dutch and Ukrainian. So my mom was born right in Rotterdam, and my dad's Ukrainian. So we were turned back at the Ukrainian border. So that's the one country we definitely we want to see. My daughter got to see Russia without us. So she was there for a soccer tournament for school, choir for school, and we also missed Bram Castle. We also had a booking at Bram Castle. So when the border guards turned us back on the one leg, we were actually on our way back to Canada anyway. So we had like 1 week to finish the rest of the last leg of our travels, and so Transylvania would have been nice. We were in Romania, but not to Bram Castle. And yeah, Ukraine. I definitely want to see Ukraine. We've been to Finland. Finland is really neat. We have some friends there as well. Beautiful country. Sweden, have not been. Switzerland, gorgeous, but extremely expensive. But again, just every country has its own beauty. We were driving through Budapest, prostitution in Budapest. Let's talk about that. So we were driving down, we took a wrong turn, and so there's this big like detour, and we're driving in the middle of like the farmer's field. So you don't think of prostitution in like farmer's fields. And we were driving down this road. There's nothing, there's no stores, there's no malls, there's no nothing. And you're driving down this for quite a long time. It's cold. And we see these like lights on either side of the road, and they look like fireflies, just kind of like flash, flash, flash. And it wasn't a phone. We didn't know what it was. And it wasn't until we got to the very end where there was some street lights, and you realize that everywhere that there was like kind of a flash of light in the field, it was where John had picked up a prostitute, and they were sleeping, they were doing the deed along in a farmer's field. Yeah. So it's like the red light district of Netherlands, but in Budapest.
Oh, wow.
With our kids, we were with our children when we saw that.
I was in the last time, well, was it 3 or 4 years ago? My oldest son was, I think, 13, 14 at the time. And he was a black belt in Taekwondo, and the place he was he was trained in Taekwondo. They're like, oh, we're going to go to the World Open Championships in Amsterdam. And I'm from Cardiff, so that's like a 45-minute flight from me, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll go, and we'll go there, and he'll go in his tournament. It'll be kind of an experience, and then my family will fly out, and we just hang out for like a week. So I mean, when I was younger and I lived in Cardiff, we would fly to Amsterdam like all the time. We just go there for the weekend, party it up, and then go home and feel just terrible. And then so I've been there lots of times, and it's changed a lot. And so, but I know what it's like in the daytime and at nighttime. So I was like, oh, I'm going to take my son to the red light district, and he was like, oh my god. So you know what it's like. I mean, really, there's just like girls in the window, and like it's all it's nothing really in bikinis and stuff like that. So, but he was like, oh my god, he was so terrified. He's like, oh my god, he's still there, and they knew like he doesn't have any money. We're not going to take him in. We're not going to do anything stupid. And he was like, oh my god, he was so shy and embarrassed. But when he came home and he went into school, and he was like, yeah, I went to Amsterdam. I was in the red light. I was in the red light district. All of his teachers like, oh my god, you're the coolest guy. He's like, oh yeah, I was there. Yeah, he didn't mention that he was just like that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Man, there's some, every country has its amazing stories like that. I tried to get by hemp hearts in Serbia, and they thought I was trying to deal weed there. Was like, no, Serbia, no. They'll give you can go to any pharmacy and get any drug you want at any time and pick out like anything at all. You don't need a prescription for anything there, and that's common to Eastern Europe.
This question's for both of you. I always say this is the place where I want to die. So for me, my place would be Hawaii. After going there, it was amazing. It was like, this is where I can die. Just put my ashes in the Pacific and we'll be happy, right? So for each of you, ladies first, where is your place to settle down? If it's Thunder Bay, then that's cool, right?
Oh my gosh, no. No, anybody who's from here, hats off to you. But it's one of my least favorite places. Only because it's so secluded. We came here at a time right before COVID shut everything down, so we didn't get to meet a lot of people, which was really, really difficult. And I need more of a city. For me, I don't even know. I was thinking about that strangely enough today about where we would want to be, and Edmonton was home that's where home is. That's where family is. Lots of our friends, but now we also have family in other parts of the world, and we also have friends across the world. And there is not one place right now that I would say this is where I need to. I mean, we could definitely go back to Europe in 10 seconds because we loved it so much, and we loved the experience for the girls and what it did for our family, just in terms of worldliness. Like it really brought, and we were happy before, but man, that was such a great trip. So for me, I don't have a place in the world where I would say I'd want to settle down. And in terms of dying in any one of those places, in my sleep. So I hope to not see.
That's a fair answer. How about you, John?
Well, I'm from Britain, right? So Britain's an island, and it's ridiculously small. When I first came here, and I would talk to people here because Canada's enormous, and just to try and give them a perspective, I'd say, well, Britain's the size of, say, a third of Alberta, with like 70 million people. It's really small with a ton of people. So you can imagine like 70 million people there. But but we're really close to everything that's kind of like the history there is amazing. Like you think, well, it's really small. We can go there for 2 weeks. We'll see everything. You never will, right? I mean, I lived there for 20 odd years and never saw everything, right? But one of the things, and I lived on the coast, right? So I'm Cardiff, which is a really busy port, and it's just the access to water and the beaches and to see it really. So I've always missed being close to the ocean. So if wherever I go, retire, whatever, it will be close to an ocean, because I don't know. There's something therapeutic and about being like by the ocean and the water, and I worked on ships and stuff like that for 6 years, and just being grew up on an island. I mean, it's to be like in landlocked Alberta, which I love. I find it different to not be able to easy access to like the ocean. So whatever it'll be on a coast somewhere or an island somewhere. I'm easy.
So back
if I didn't have to pick a specific place too, I'd be on an ocean, but sleeping near an ocean when I die. Not necessarily beside John, but beside my husband. Not together.
Yeah, I'm not planning on dying for like a long time. Yeah, so I mean, maybe like when I'm like 105 and I break a hip on a beach somewhere, I'm like, there you go.
You're okay. Then you're okay. Just a little too much tequila one night. All right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and in the paper is like 105-year-old regretted dancing on the table with so much tequila.
Did he really regret it though? Did he really? Exactly.
Well, I'm sorry for bringing up like the dying part, because it's like what do you want to die?
You know what?
For me,
You have to laugh. You have to laugh.
oh yeah. No, for sure. Like, sleep would be great, but I'm sure it'll be something dumb like me tripping up the stairs or something, at like 85. So hopefully,
That's
like,
my husband says I'm gonna die. He tells me,
yeah.
I know how you're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna fall down the stairs and break your hip. Because I walk into walls. I trip over everything. I'm the least graceful human being on the planet. I've yet to meet another person who's as clutchy as me. And he knows. He's already either he's plotting my death, or he knows what's gonna happen. He's like, you're gonna die by falling down the stairs and breaking your hip. Like, just he hasn't said whether or not he's gonna be pushing me.
Yeah.
Years ago, a friend of mine was renting it was like a friend of a friend, was renting his house, him and his wife and his kids. And in the house, they had like the stair lift for the old people. And then we were quite drunk. It was after the bar came home. We went in there. I thought it was the most fun ever. I mean, admittedly, it was like 2:00 in the morning. I was like, whee! And, just going up the chair. and eventually, I was having so much fun on this. I was like, my God, when I'm old, I'm definitely getting one of these. And eventually, I had to unplug it. He was like, you keep waking my kids up. They got to go to school. So yeah, a stair lift is going to be something in my future at some point. I just want a fast one.
Oh my God. All right. Hey, guess what? It's that time. Yeah, for those of you viewing, hopefully we've got some entries here. I remember the last time we did this, we didn't get that many because I wasn't streaming on one of the channels. So we're hoping that this is a better turnout. So let's do this. Oh my goodness. I really hope this works. Oh, look at that. Okay. Here we go. We're going to draw a winner. One winner unpicked. Okay, here we go. Let's do the draw. I don't even know if we have entries. If not, I didn't do this right.
If it's Shauna, it's fixed.
I won! Yay!
Mike Stark, congratulations. You have won the, yeah. Mike Stark, great.
Is Mikey going to regift it?
I hope so.
It's like those wedding gifts you get, and you're like, I didn't want a bread baker. And you're just like, oh, look.
No, it's the Amazon gift card for sure, Mikey.
Yeah, everybody wants the Amazon.
Yeah,
one.
no, like whenever we do the Sport Check one, it's always like bleh. So,
Really?
yeah, and Mike, actually, Mike did get Sonny's book. So now that he's getting your book, that's going to be awesome. So he's got the whole Palace collection. So, congratulations, Mike. Sorry for everybody else, but hey, we'll probably be adding in. Hopefully, Shauna, we'll have you on again, and then we can do probably another draw for Christmas. Maybe you can autograph a couple of them, and we can have them over here and just give them away for the winter season. So
Great. Sounds great.
Oh yeah, see, he's on. Still champion.
Natural born winner, Mikey.
I don't know if you should be talking, Mike, because I've got this photo of you that I keep showing.
Oh, that the other day. Yeah.
This one. We always show these photos whenever you get a little bit out of line there, buddy. So.
To be honest, I think he likes you showing them.
I think so too.
He's like, look, I had a 6-pack. No boobs, but a 6-pack. Yeah,
I still have that outfit.
yeah, exactly. I can't fit in that bikini anymore.
Oh my god, that's so funny. All right. Sorry, one more layout before we continue our discussion here. We keep talking about the 20th episode. It's going to be fun. The 10th episode, we had John as the host of the really cool game show that we just kind of put together in a week. This one, we've been thinking about it for quite some time. So we've got some surprises. We're going to be doing some giveaways. So check that out. Talking Craps, 20th episode, December 23rd. So
That looks like those monkeys, like the See No Evil. Like,
oh my god. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah. I knew it.
exactly. See, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Nice.
So, Shauna, we are here with Shauna. For those of you that are joining in, because we usually have our mid-show jumpers, because we never get to hear from you at the start at 8, but some of you guys come in at 9, which is really cool. Author extraordinaire, former Palace Casino, former Century Casino employee, someone that's been in the industry before. So it's so nice to have you on, Shauna. Back to the casino, and just a couple of questions there. We have recently we've brought in an online casino here in Alberta. We just wanted to get your thoughts on how you felt about having an online casino and how that affects like the current industry and how that affects people in the province. Well, not just the province, but even in the country.
I think for the industry, it's a good thing. You need your revenue stream wherever you can get it. I understand that. I do think it's a dangerous precedent to set. I'm not a fan personally of having casinos in the home. There are a lot of people who can gamble responsibly. There's millions of them, but there's also a lot of people who can't. And I strongly feel that having the option of having a gaming system where you can lose your money at your fingertips, at your computer, and you can do that for how many hours a day is a really, really dangerous thing to do. So for me, I'm not a fan of it. I've never been a fan of it. I watch a lot of UFCs with my husband, and I'm always watching the online gaming ads that are there. Most of them, I believe, are in England, but I think that it's a safer bet, a safer environment when you have an individual going to a physical spot, because there's a point where the money stops. I just think that the online gaming is dangerous.
Mm-hmm. John, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, like we've talked about this a few times, but
I can. I mean, like Shauna was saying, right? I mean, like if you want to gamble, there's a million and one, probably a billion and one different sites to gamble on anything, right? But I think that realistically, Albertans should kind of get like the AGLC, Albertan Gaming and Liquor Commission. I mean, like they're losing out that revenue. So I mean, this is a market they really should be in. And I think then if they should be responsible, I mean, like some of them can obviously are not going to have these sites to be at some kind of reputable, right? Well, at least maybe there should be. I mean, to be honest, I never liked slots. I always find it boring. I don't like online gaming. I kind of like spot betting. I'm like, but I don't gamble anymore anyway. But I mean, at least if it's kind of like responsibly controlled, maybe there are some kind of parameters and the challenge that one of the benefits you have if somebody was gambling on an Alberta site, maybe they're with analytics and data, they could red flag people who have an issue, right? I remember that I remember reading sometime that they could say, okay, well, on the VLTs, they were slowing them down so it didn't spin so much, so people would lose slower. I mean, maybe they would control the experience a bit better to try to help people who are problem, and maybe they identify problem gamblers, right? So, but I don't know that everybody is trying to do that. Probably aren't. They're probably just trying to make as much money as they can, right? Yeah. But if there was at least some, I mean, I don't know. I think if people are going to gamble, they're going to gamble. It's if you kind of prohibit it, they'll just find another outlet for it, right? And maybe some people can benefit, like some of that money will go back to the charities and stuff like that, right? And help soccer clubs and ring out teams and things like that,
right? So how do you both feel about, and it's really hard for me to ask this question and have you guys answer this, because you've both have experience in the industry, but if you can think out of the box, should casinos be open at this point with everything that's going on? Like, we're talking about this one specific situation. So
for me, you know what, I think you can do it. I think you can still distance as long as alcohol. I mean, it also depends on the alcohol consumption as well, because when people are drinking, they're more likely to start pawing everything, ripping off the masks, hugging people, and that's what you don't want. Could casinos stay open on the basis of wearing masks, limiting your alcohol consumption, more distancing? I worked in them. I know that there are some casinos are better than others in terms of air filtration. They are larger spaces. They're not quite, you're not in Jimmy's basement playing poker. You're in a larger space. So limiting your capacity levels would definitely help. But again, when we were in Alberta just over the summertime, we knew when the casinos had opened, and we knew people who were going. We didn't feel comfortable going. But the case count was also a lot lower. Now it's also a matter of casinos trying to promote their safety to their patrons, because I do like going to the casino. I'm not smart enough to play the table, so I am the person who's at the slot machine pressing the buttons. But a person like me who is still going, okay, well, I definitely have money to spend, but they would have to do a hell of a lot to get me inside that building, because right now everything's a death trap. Or at least that's how I perceive it. Not everybody does. We have a younger demographic who's more willing to kind of go those lengths. And I think that they still need to make their money. They still have people to employ. They have responsibilities in terms of their building fees and their hard costs. But those are not going to go away anytime soon. And so it's also unfortunate that they're shouldering a huge responsibility there too. So if there was a way that they can continue to stay open, I believe the Thunderweight Bay one is open right now. Are the ones in Edmonton open right now?
They are, yes.
They are open. And so we were closed for a while. They opened back up. People are there. We drove past the parking lot, really, really slow. So that's where I guess the online thing would kind of come into play. But I think it's really just kind of trying to do the best you can with what you've got.
John, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a delicate balance, right, between creating a safe environment for people to play, and obviously casinos are, because they're limiting the amount of people who can go in there. They're testing your temperature when you walk in. They're sanitizing everywhere. They're doing as much as they can. Some of the places have chips, and I'm sure, I don't know, to be honest, what they're doing on the bar side, but I'm sure the food and beverage side, but I'm sure they're doing the same kind of things, the protocols to try and, because they don't want it, right? They want the casinos to open and get back to normal. But it's a delicate balance, right? I mean, like you said, there's, because how long can casinos run or businesses run on this reduced revenue, right? At some point, they may be like, you know what, this isn't feasible anymore, man. We just have to close it down. And then are we creating a bigger problem further down the road? Like, I was talking to I phone home every Sunday. My mum lives in Wales. And they were talking in Wales that the next epidemic in Britain is mental health, because Absolutely. Of what they're doing there, about the shutdowns and how it's creating a different kind of pandemic that they're creating further on. You may solve this one now with COVID, but are we generating another one, right? So I think it's a very tricky situation, right? So yes, sometimes you don't want to use a sledgehammer to crack a nut, right? So I don't know. It's a very difficult balance, because if you shut everything down, then what happens then? Okay, it stops because nobody's going out, but then in 2 months when you go back again, I mean, it was kind of like what happened in Alberta, right? I mean, it was low and then it's come back up again, right? So sometimes we have to measure the risks and what we're doing and the downstream effects of the actions we're taking today, right? So, but I mean, I don't like I don't go anywhere. It's really I volunteered to go to a casino because it was one of the it was my son's a boxer, so it was like Alberta boxing. So I was like, hey, I went there for 11 hours. I was like, oh God, this is a nightmare. So, but it's a totally different experience now. And when I was watching, I was like, man, I wouldn't want to come and gamble in this thing. It didn't seem to be as enjoyable as it used to be before, and it didn't look like players are having as much fun. So I don't know, it's just a difficult time, right, for the casinos and the people who work there, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's an easy answer.
No, you're absolutely right. I agree with both of you in the fact that it's such a difficult question. I'm sorry for asking it, but yeah, I'm looking at both sides because, like, technically, even though I haven't gone back, I still do work there, and to go to the back to work and see like the protocols, I was thoroughly impressed. Like to see how similar it was to how I would go into the hospitals here in Edmonton. So then when I'd go into a hospital, they'd have their whole screening protocol. It was really, really good to see that at the casinos as well. So it's nice to know that they aren't just like putting, people's safety to the side and not treating it like a priority. So I think that they've done a good job with that. And you're right. Like you're also right with the whole online gambling and like the revenue and the fact that, you can't have a business survive when you're on limited revenue. Nobody knows how long this is going to, happen, like, and kind of like, can you actually sustain? How long will you be able to survive? I mean, you've seen a lot of businesses close down already, and it's been difficult. So I understand like why they did the online gambling and why it's readily available. However, I mean, like, I don't know if there's another way of doing that because I do have that concern about, can my 5-year-old access this somehow and play and, that's my major concern. And then I'm thinking about it, it's like, well, there's always been online gambling. It's just hasn't been like, hey, it's here. Like you'd have to look for it. Like, online poker, for example, we've always had it for years. It's just now it's like our government saying, hey, here it is. Use ours. So, yeah.
I was working on a ship one time and they had on board, like, gambling, in the cabin, whatever. And one of the youth counselors taught all these kids how to play blackjack. She thought it'd be helping them, as a counting skill. Oh, we'll teach how to play blackjack. So we taught them how to play blackjack. And then one of the kids went back to the cabin and blew $2,500 US playing blackjack on the parents' accounts.
No.
Yeah.
Not really.
No, seriously. And then they came into the casino when we opened, and they were mad as hell. They're like, you need, like, I was there. I was the opening like manager, and I went up to the casino, and this woman comes in, she goes, you have to give me $2,500. I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, my son lost $2,500 this morning, or like last night. I was like, what do you mean? And then she told me the story. I was like, that's nothing we don't even run those. That's nothing to do with the casino. And she's like, well, I want my money back. He's like, literally was like 8 or 9 or something like that. And he didn't know what he was doing, but yeah, he blew $2,500 playing blackjack. And I was like, there you go. It's a life lesson. You might probably send him thousands of dollars of therapy in the future. He's a crap gambler. Trying to put a positive spin on it, Just like that. Okay, little boy, you can count to 21. You're not very good.
Tell your son to be better. That's what
exactly.
I say.
He's a casino. Yeah, he's a gambling manual. Maybe he can learn better.
Your basic strategy? No, he needs to work on it.
Today's another day. Maybe try today.
Yes.
Yeah, but so thankfully that's never happened to me. But yeah, I saw a parent that was involved in that. I was like, oh yeah, you need to go and speak to somebody else, not me.
Oh my God. That just brought up one quick story. When we were doing the South America cruises, I don't know what was going on. It's just, and a lot of the groups were coming in, but they would just let their kids kind of run around, and we would come in and we would just see some of the kids playing slots, and it's like, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, nothing. He's just playing around. I'm like, no, he can't be here. Like, he can't be in the casino. So it was really hard to just kind of see that. And they're like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine.
When I was at Palace, I still remember people leaving their children outside the doors of the mall. And then the police would show up every single time, and their parents, and they were just waiting there. And it was normal. Like, the kids were used; they had done it before, and so there was. I mean, most people don't do that, but there are a few that do that, and then they get caught.
Yeah.
But growing up in Britain, like all around Britain, there's kind of like these small like seaside places, right? Like Blackpool and all these different places that have like kind of like K-Day kind of things, right? Like the the rides and the county games and stuff like that. And they used to call them penny arcades, right? And they were like slot machines and stuff like that. And we all grew up, like really small, like, oh, like, let's go and play this, try and win money. Like, gambling was just like, yeah, here you go. You'd ask your parents and you go and play gambling, or, they go. And one of the best things I thought about Britain, which is still kind of cool, is they always bring kids into the bar, right? They can take them into a bar, and the food's really cheap. And okay, they have to be out by, say, 10 o'clock or whatever it is. They take him in this pub environment, but I remember they'd always go, can I play the slot machines? Or we used to call them the fruit machines. And they say, because I don't know, whatever, but that's what they call them. And then you go and you play them, and no one thought, like, I'm just getting my 9-year-old addicted to gambling. It's like, they were like, okay, and have a shandy, which is like beer and beer and lemonade. We're like, this isn't a problem, really, is it? Okay, here's alcohol and gambling. Yeah, it seems like perfect sense.
Well, you never had that. For me, when I was a kid, I still remember my mom taking us to bingo. Bingo, that's what the gambling I was allowed to do when I was like 8, 9. And every Saturday, I don't know, I think it was Campbell Park. Was it Campbell Park bingo? And they had a family bingo where your kids could bingo with you for money. And I still remember my mom and all these people having like just tables covered with cards. And in the meantime, you have the kids going, okay, they're just waiting for the one number that they're looking at. And you could have had a bingo like 50 calls before. In the meantime, you have these like, octopus people with like 20 hands coming out, and they're like this. I'm still like just waiting for my one number. I remember that.
When I grew up, like back in Cardiff, whatever, when I was younger, they used to have like church bingos. They were like fundraisers, so they wouldn't win money. People would like donate prizes. And I went once with my mum, and I must have been like 10. She's like, "Oh, I don't leave you home. I'm going to go with my friends. We're going to play bingo at this church." And we went on a winning streak. We came home with a folding chair, a pillow, and a frozen chicken.
Oh.
So we were on a roll that night.
Oh man.
So, oh wow, we've got just less than 10 minutes left here. Shauna, you did talk about being on mat leave. Did you go back after?
So I had my daughter my first daughter in Edmonton, and then right after that, so I'm kind of at the mercy of my husband's job. His job takes us everywhere. So right after that, we were in Manitoba, and then we were there for a year and a half, and then back to Edmonton. And then I had another daughter in Manitoba, back to Edmonton, and then we were in Edmonton for just a couple of years. When I was working, I was marketing at Sobeys for Western Canada, a strategist there, and loved that job. It was great. Worked with a great group of people there. And then from there, we were in Sarnia, Ontario, again for my husband's work, and I was marketing director of a mall there. Did some really neat things with the community there. That was pretty neat. And then from there to Serbia, now to Thunder Bay. Tomorrow I'll be in Timbuktu. I don't know. I don't know where we're going to be.
I was just wondering, the reason why I was asking, I was just wondering how it was just trying to balance like work life and having a child. And like for me, it was pretty difficult, knowing that the hours that I was working in the casino were really tough. A lot of the people that we've had on the show, like they've met their significant others actually in the industry. For me, it was different. Like the person that I the person that I married, she was never in the industry. So it was really hard to kind of figure out how we were going to do the childcare, given the fact that, I'd be working late nights and, at the time I was working as a manager. So, just being on salary and having like impromptu meetings and extended starts and finishing off the night, and the sun would be coming out. So it was really hard to kind of think about that. So yeah, yeah, go ahead.
No, it did. That's part of the reason when I was pregnant with Rebecca and I left, I knew that it is such a fun life. But especially as a new parent, I didn't see myself going back from my maternity leave right away. Like I just knew it wasn't, I needed something where I wasn't going to be, even though I had 9 to 5 hours, technically, they're never technically 9 to 5. You're there until like 10 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, depending on what's happening or what event, especially for marketing, depending on what you're doing. And so for me, those hours, I just couldn't do it. And then when I started working at Sobeys, and then within, I think my first 3 weeks on the job, going back for the first time having 2 kids, my littlest got pneumonia within she was a year old and she got pneumonia. And they were really, really good to me. And, but as a mom, a parent, as a father, you're always trying to balance, what you're doing professionally with everything that you need to do at home. And home always has to come first, always. At least for us, it does. And I think for that reason, we're doing pretty well.
Really cool. Yeah, that was one of the things that I had such a hard time with, just trying to figure out how I was going to make that work. So that's kind of what led to a career change, and it was really tough, just being in the casino and like you guys know, like we all worked together like 20 years, and just to still be there after all that time, it was just really hard to kind of step away. And it's still, I still think about it. It's like, well, is it the right call? Was it not the right call? Like
there should be a program
sort of
for that. There should be a program for that, kind of like ADAC, but kind of like casino withdrawal, like casino employee withdrawal, to like a 1-800 hotline number for everybody who worked at one and all of a sudden found themselves at like in accounting at some boring firm. It's a life change. It's huge.
Do you know what I think it is? Like it's not just like like you said, you worked in the bars. Like it's like the entertainment industry, right? It's like there's a big adrenaline rush. Like you're having some fun, and there's music, and it's like bands, and you're like, oh my god, this is so much fun. And afterwards, you go out and drink, and you party, and you do all this crazy stuff. And then then all of a sudden you get like a regular job, and like, wow, is this it? This is what I do. But and you look around, he's like, wow. Not going to have many crazy stories about getting drunk and coming to work here. I'm like, oh, I mean, like, it's just like, how do you, it's kind of like you said, it's kind of like an ATAC program, right? It's like,
totally.
You had this issue where like, you were such a, it was like a fun industry for a long time. And then you're like, okay, now I'm like not doing, well, I'm not saying other jobs aren't as fun, but it's not as, I know, the experience is different. Yeah, it's not as fun, to be honest. Like I used to work places. There's like, oh yeah, you drink while you work. What? Yeah. And then you go to a regular place and like, what do you mean drink on a break every 45 minutes have a beer? No, that's not allowed.
Unless you're in Serbia, then it's okay.
Exactly.
So Shauna, what do you miss? What do you miss about your time in the industry?
It was different for me. Like I always felt like there was something going on. Like you couldn't, even at like 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, you walk in and you're always going to have the people waiting to get on those machines, right? But it's a place that like really anything could happen. It's not Vegas, but if you're in a casino anywhere on the planet, it's really the unpredictable. And I think that's why people go there in the first place, right? They don't go there knowing what they're going to get. Everything is chance, whether you're at the tables or you're having a drink or there's some guy stealing shit from a toilet somewhere. You never know what you're going to get. And I think that's kind of what draws everybody to it. For me, that's what it was. I mean, I loved that.
So I think what it was, I mean, like the F&B and the tables and it's like, I mean, like they were kind of encouraging you to enjoy yourself, because if you enjoyed yourself, the players, the patrons, or whatever, they enjoy themselves, and if they enjoy themselves, they stick around longer, they spend more money, gamble more money, whatever. So they wanted you to have fun and enjoy it. And it was like, regular jobs don't really do that. They don't like, hey, go stock those shelves and really enjoy it. Have fun. I was like, oh yeah, yeah. Like, it's not like, no, it's just, I know it's really, it is. It's kind of like a hard like, a career to replace, right? That kind of like adrenaline rush from what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I miss the people that I got to work with, especially as managers. Oh, I love those guys. Yeah, that's the one thing that I did regret, just leaving, just because they're pretty awesome. Where I was working last was pretty awesome. So it's hard to let go, right? So
I think the worst thing that happened in Alberta, anyway, I think the worst thing that happened was they made the casinos like open longer, so they didn't give the people who worked in the casinos anywhere to go afterwards to kind of socialize and kind of like unwind and have like just have some fun, and amongst themselves, right, and with their peers. So that was, I think, I mean, if they were going to do that, you need, like, nobody works like a 9-to-5 job. I mean, I work in banking now. Nobody's like, okay, you finish at 5. Okay, you have to go to bed now. I'm like, I don't want to. You know what I mean? So, and it seems to be unfairly penalized the casino industry. We're like, oh yeah, let's make more money by opening longer, but let's not give the people who work in this industry any kind of the ability to kind of like unwind and socialize amongst themselves and their peers, right? So I think that was the worst thing that happened. In like, unless it's like when I grew up in Cardiff, we just had underground places where like these, where we were like, hey, this bar's open until like 7, just 7 in the morning, but that's fine because it's all illegal, right? And we'd all go there. But maybe there's some things in Edmonton, who knows? I don't know. But that's, I think, was kind of like because then you never get to know and socialize with the people you work with, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true. Right? Yeah, those hours really killed it, especially if you're trying to work 2 jobs. Because like 3 in the morning is tough if you're trying to do a 9-to-5, right? So it was, yeah, that kind of killed it for me. I couldn't do 2 jobs after that. So,
well, even volunteering, like I went to volunteer, and I got there and I had to be, and this is during COVID, and it was only like 3 volunteers or whatever it was. There wasn't very many of us in the cash desk, and I had to get there at 5:30. I got there about 5:45. Sorry, I had to start at 6. I was there till 4 in the morning, and by the time I left, it was like 4:15, and I had to work the next day, so I had to get up at 7. And I'm like, I didn't even know, but I was like, oh, volunteer. I didn't ask about hours, so I went there, and then when I left, I was like, this is the worst night ever. I'm not going to do this again in midweek. And I was like, then in my head, I was like, this is the reason why nobody else was volunteering, and I was the idiot going like, oh, I'll do it.
So much easier to do that when you're younger. I was going through university. I was working at the Palace until 2 or 3 and wherever else, really late. And then I'd have to be up for school at 7 o'clock every single day. And then it was like, yeah, it's okay. No, try vodka, coffee, you're good. And now it's like, I need my sleep. I actually have like pajama bottoms on right now. I'm like so cool. I'm like party on the top, pajamas on the bottom.
yeah, well, yeah, so do I actually, literally. So, but Sean, I know it's late. Thanks for spending the Wednesday with us here. Totally, it was pretty cool having you on, and really listening to your industry stories. So
this was so much fun. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome and so funny. I could sit here forever and just listen to you talk.
Yeah, John's funnier for sure. So,
I disagree. Shauna, it was so cool to listen to your stories, and I'm so impressed the fact that you wrote so many books, and
thank you.
Yeah, and you have some really cool stories about casino, not like working a different part of the industry that I wasn't aware of, right? So, yeah, it was really cool catching up and listening to you. Like catching up, it was so fun.
Thanks so much, guys. Thank you.
All right, so one last time, let's put the link up. It's in the chat there, guys, to purchase a copy. I believe you have it in Kindle as well, right? So not just paperback?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay, so you can either get it in paperback and Kindle. Let me put my really cool Woo! Check that out. Wow.
Ooh.
Look what I was doing at work. Just kidding.
Ooh.
So I was doing that. Available.
Somebody asked me the other day how I got that picture if I burnt something down. It's like, that's not my church.
Can we? I'm not. See, like, I'm not really. You know, when we talk about like authors and whatnot, can I ask you about where SL Luck comes from, or is that?
I wanted a pen name. It's so it's Shauna Lupaschuk. Lupaschuk is my last name. Shauna Leanne Lupaschuk. It's very close to my name. It's also gender neutral. A lot of women are like, you should do it. It's women's time. It's women's time. The truth is that there are still a lot of people that will not read books by female authors, especially if they think that the genre, most of the genres, especially in a thriller, it's mostly geared toward men. They're male writers, and so if you get a female, it just sometimes the odds are stacked against you already. So will that change? It's changing already, but it's still not quite there yet.
John?
No, that's like you know, it's kind of like it's surprising, you know, like you know, that this is still going on, like, you know, how many hundreds of years, you know, that after women authors have been doing, you know, writing, that they still have to kind of have a gender neutral name, because people will be like, you know, what was it? Who wrote Frankenstein? Anne Shelley?
Mary Shelley.
Yeah. So
Mary
you know,
Shelley. Mary
yeah.
Shelley.
So like, okay, just because, you know, having to like change the names of who they are just so they could sell their books, it's just, to me, it's insane, right? I mean, like, but the fact that it's still going on nowadays, it's just,
it happens, and it's not. I mean, honestly, there will be some authors that say no, but it's not the same. Like and it's hard. Like my last novel, my satire, was written from completely a male perspective, a very insecure male perspective, and so having a woman write that doesn't always go over very well. So I tread lightly sometimes with things, but that's the reason for the name on the book. Yeah.
Here's a question: do you have more than one, like, you know, pen name then?
No, I have this. I have like a website and stuff where I write just under. Well, no, sorry, it's actually still under SL Luck. Like a lot of people know me, and they'll be like, "Oh, Shauna," like they'll write on the websites and stuff, and be like, "Oh, Shauna," and it's fine. You know, if people know who I am, I'm totally fine with that. I just don't. Also, the other part too is also being female. So I'm on Goodreads, I'm on a whole bunch of author sites, and the second you have a female profile on there, screw Tinder, you will have people there instantly messaging you. I get messages every single day from guys saying, "Oh, I've seen your profile." You're right. So I try to either restrict my picture, and then if you do put your picture on, because a lot of people are like, "I must know who the author is. I must have a picture." So lots of people are, you must have an author picture. So you put a picture up, and then it kind of invites a lot of harassment on Twitter. And that's not just with writers; it's just with women in general. You're always going to have, you know, the guy who wants to send the dick pic, who doesn't know you, or you're gonna have people who go, okay, well, you know, she's female, so, you know, hey, how you doing, right? And next thing you know, you have this guy's bio in your, he's messaged you everything about him, right? And so I just delete stuff, or get my husband to filter things out.
Okay, well, once again, Shauna, thank you so much for, I know it's late over there, so thanks for staying up and spending some time on the episode. Any final shout outs to anybody out there that you want to say hi to before we end our live stream?
I'd like to say hi to my bed. It's waiting for me. It's like I've been up it's midnight here almost, and I'm old and feeble. No, I love my, you know, old casino family. So I'd like to say hi to everybody I've ever worked with. There's a lot of you, and I loved it. I loved every single minute of it. So thank you.
Perfect. All right, guys. Description in the link. Thank you so much for being on the show, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you next week. So have a great night.
See you, Shauna. See you, Jay.
Thanks. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.